Before we get started, we'd like to thank Applied Surety Underwriters for sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. Applied Surety Underwriters, an affiliate of United Risk Insurance Agency, LLC, provides contract and commercial surety underwriting services with a consultative approach, helping clients and brokers match the right bond program to each project's unique needs. To learn more about Applied Surety Underwriters, visit appliedsurety.com. Now, on to our show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of Let's Get Surety. I've got with me today my co-host, Mark McCallum, CEO of NASBP. Hey Mark, thanks for being on.
Absolutely, Kat.
We've got another good topic.
People can't get enough of this topic.
We're talking about AI.
Yep.
You might have heard of it. So to talk about AI in construction and AI in finance, we have with us today Chris Greene from American Global. Hey Chris, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks Kathryn. Thanks Mark for having me on. This is exciting and fun.
Well Chris, before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about American Global?
For sure, my name is Chris Greene. I am the SVP of Innovation and Insight at American Global.
That's a big deal.
Well, thank you. It's just a bunch of made-up words. But yeah, I've been in this space. I've worked with large contractors, large global brokers, but been with American Global for about 2 years now. And we are a construction and infrastructure purely focused broker. So we only serve contractors typically, and we're mainly in North America. We do some work in Europe as well, in South America, and we are just pure construction and infrastructure. We do insurance, we do performance security, we do bonding, anything that a contractor might need on the risk and insurance side.
That's great. Thanks for being with us, Chris. We also have Michelle Savage from XBRL US. Thanks for being with us, Michelle.
Great. Thanks so much, Kat, for having me back.
I know, it's good to have you as a repeat guest. Yeah. Well, Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about XBRL?
Sure. Yeah, XBRL US we are a nonprofit data standards consortium. We're made up of accounting firms and software companies and technologists. And we advocate for the use of open data standards where we think they're going to improve efficiencies. And we're particularly interested in artificial intelligence because our data, or data that's structured in XBRL format, is particularly useful and efficient for AI platforms. So we're happy to be here today and having a great time at the NASBP conference, and thank you for having me.
That's great. Thanks for being with us, Michelle. And last but definitely not least, we have Kathryn Schneider from Forvis, Mazars US. Thanks for being with us, Kathryn.
Pleasure to be here. Glad to be a first timer on the panel, so thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Forvis Mazars.
So Forvis Mazars is about a 100-year-old accounting firm. We recently rebranded about 2 years ago to become Forvis Mazars. So, and again, we stay heavily focused in the construction industry. We serve a lot of construction companies nationally. My role really is to spend time with our contractor clients and figuring out ways to do things faster, better, more efficient for them. So spend a lot of time in that world, just kind of understanding, and kind of wanted to serve that purpose today on the podcast.
That's great. I mean, we hear so much about how AI is impacting every industry. How is it impacting construction right now?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I think there's a sense of fear of missing out, right? Like they're falling behind because again, there's a lot of noise out there, and it is somewhat of a wild, wild west scenario. When you look at just overall some stats, about 1% of contractors have actually adopted AI like throughout their organization and their life cycle, but 80% are kind of test driving it, right? Kind of dipping that toe in the water and figuring out what's going to work. And there's certain areas in construction, pre-con, estimating, that are a little bit more ripe, business development for kind of test driving that stuff. And other areas that we, working towards is kind of like the finance, right? Some of those things that are a little bit more mindful of the systems they already have in place and the data, and trying to figure out how to leverage AI as well. But automation's a big play in that world, especially in finance too. So getting engaged there as well.
Is safety another area that they're looking at as well?
Yeah, safety, especially, I know we talked about it earlier, but regarding like just images and so site images, a lot of
using drone technology and then...
Yeah, a lot of them have drones, or they have someone that physically walks the site every day, or just cameras attached, fixed cameras, and then feeding all that back information and then training that AI model to say, hey, look for things that might be a safety hazard or a PPE risk or things of that nature. So it's interesting because I think too then it it opens up some privacy issues, right? And understanding kind of what that looks like. And then also just sometimes there's just so much data that it's ingesting, and try to figure out how to keep it organized and try to action on it, because it's great you have all this data, but what are you going to do about it,
Right.
kind of thing, yeah.
You always hear that construction really hasn't made much in the way of productivity gains in 70 years or so. And now we have this technology that offers a future where that's going to be a reality. At the same time, we're a country that has such desperate needs in infrastructure, and the cost is growing exponentially. I mean, Chris, how do you see AI playing a role in making sure that we can achieve these infrastructure projects more efficiently?
So I think, you're right. Construction has typically been seen as a laggard in the digitization adoption as far as industries. I think we've all seen that McKinsey report that showed construction as far as digitization at the very bottom, I think right around farming and agriculture. But I think that report is probably like 10, 15 years old now. Things have changed quite a lot.
A lot's changed in 15 years,
so now we're talking about like construction tech. We got reality capture, like Kathryn said, we've got IoT, worker wearable technology, all of these cool things. And the construction side definitely does not look like what it did about 15 years ago. But with all of this tech, I think that was the first cusp of the big change that we're seeing in the industry. And it started with construction tech. But now with AI on top of that, now we were at the point where, especially in the insurance and surety industry, underwriters were asking for more data. By the time we got a lot of the data in, the industry started choking on the data because there was so much data, right? Data's floating around all of us around the construction site in our industry, but AI is actually helping with that. And Michelle talks a lot about structured data. It's getting to the point where AI is helping us, if we have the right structured data, and helping us be more insightful and have a better risk profile when it comes to our projects in our industry.
That's interesting. That leads me right to you, Michelle, with structuring that data. That's a great lead-in.
Right.
How do you have to structure that data? I know that data you put in matters.
Right. And I think, when we look at what large language models or LLMs are actually doing when they're trying to understand, make sense out of all this, data that they're given, they need context. They need, we talk about they need lots and lots of data. Well, the reason they need a lot of data is because they're looking at data, they're looking at words or fragments of words or numbers, and they're trying to make sense. They're trying to see patterns, and then those patterns help them make inferences about the meaning behind the data itself. So the more data they have, the better. And then if each individual data point has context around it to help you understand, if it has a label, if it has a definition, if it has a data type, be it monetary or integer or text, that helps the large language model better understand what that data means. And so it can much more efficiently process the meaning of the data. So if it can process the data quickly, then it can be more consistent, and it can be faster, and it can be more accurate, and generate greater trust in the large language model that you're using. So that's where structured, standardized data really comes into play and helps users, with the function of the AI itself.
Well, I feel like that increased accuracy, we all hear about hallucinations with AI. So knowing that having that structured data standard can increase accuracy would make everyone feel more comfortable, right?
Right. It's the analogy, and I was in our session earlier, I was talking about the analogy would be like a library card catalog where everything's very organized by title, by genre, by author. Getting that is kind of like structured data, but getting a big pile of books is like getting unstructured data. And with the pile of books, you really have to sort it through, you have to organize it and categorize it before you can make any meaning out of it. So that's really where we are in terms of structure and unstructured data. And large language models can make much better sense more effectively when they're working with structured information.
I think you can still use it, but you are not going to get the output that you're looking for. It can be much better, right? Our industry is very old, surety is very old, construction is very old, and if you have something that's been around for a very long time, it grows and gets more messy all the time. So I think we're at the point that we just have to clean house, and when contractors come to me saying, how do we be more innovative? How do I leverage AI? I say, just pause, take a step back, and actually look at getting a data lake or a data warehouse set up within your company to get, and it's very easy, but it's also very laborious and time consuming to think about doing this. It's not any work that people really want to sit down and do. But once you have that solid foundation, then you put AI on top of everything, and the world is your oyster because it's clean instruction.
That's great.
Yeah. And we were talking about the average number of tech applications in a construction office is 28.
Wow.
So that's and again, living on our islands, right? Very siloed. They all have a different purpose because we all love that purpose-built tool versus hey, this one does it all. I mean, does this exact task that I need it to do.
Yeah.
And we're hearing too that because they don't trust the data, right? The adoption is slowing down, right? They don't want to start to adopt tools that are, AI or potentially like a Chat or a Claude or what have you,
right?
Because they don't feel comfortable, right? So it kind of like holds them back, So I think once we catch up with the data and the governance around that, they build that trust, and then they're more inclined to.
Right. Maybe explore that a little bit more. I mean, you kind of touched quality of data, but what about data security overall? Is that a big consideration?
Huge consideration.
Like
yeah. Because I'm saying in most contractors' office, they don't have a governance model in place,
Okay.
So if they're going to allow an AI to come in and be searchable or what have you, right? They don't know what they're exposing it to. So it takes, to Chris's point, it takes a significant amount of time to get that on. And then even when they do it, we had a great example of a company that exposed, they put a Copilot on top of project data, not realizing that within that project data there was a salary of one of their lead PMs,
Wow.
So their team could drill in and see that salary information.
Oh my.
But they thought they had cleaned house and they did all the right things. So yeah, you really have to kind of pressure test.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Typically when I'm at a conference like this speaking about AI, I ask the audience how many have used AI. The majority of people always say, I use it every day and I need it.
Yeah.
And then I ask the question, how many people have an AI policy within their companies? And it's almost like crickets. Just a few people raise their hand. And it's very dangerous because people don't understand if you don't have the right structures and limits set up within your company, you're going to lose your IP and you're going to give information away, and it could be legal liability. It could be a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point. So somebody who's taking a very thoughtful approach with their company, where do they go to find out more about how to frame appropriate policies? I mean, what kind of resources are out there for them?
It's kind of new. I think companies are figuring it out. We had to figure it out ourselves at American Global. So I went out to each and every office in person to train people on AI, and then that was the key for them to get access to we use ChatGPT, to get access to our enterprise version of that. With that, we're not feeding the cloud with our information. It stays siloed within our company because we're paying for it. But a lot of people are just like, either if the company says we're not allowing AI, people are going to be using it on the side, right? And that's when it gets dangerous. So I'd rather train and teach people and how to have those proper protocols and confidentiality and what not to put in there and how to be safe with it. But I think as far as a resource, I don't know any public, I'm sure there's companies out there, but we kind of had to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah, and I think to that point, make sure, I always say, reach out to your surety, your accountant, your banker, right?
Yeah.
Who do they know that's starting to really bubble up in the space to help? Because definitely so many of our people have already started the trailblazing down this road, so don't do it alone. I mean, Chris, I think what you guys did was great, but sometimes for some smaller organizations, it's like, hey, I don't want to, someone's already done this for me, let me bring in that right partner to show me the way kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
I think the other thing to think about with an AI strategy is, using it strategically as opposed to just opening the doors and do anything you want, because right now it's incredibly cheap to use AI. It's like $20 for ChatGPT or for using Claude.
Right.
But eventually those costs are going to start jumping because, right now the venture capitalists, the private equity firms that are funding these organizations, they're going to stop letting that continue.
They want a return.
Yes, they will. They will be looking for returns, and so those costs are going to start coming up. So if you're not efficient with the way that you use AI, you're going to have a hard time at some point.
The one return they're getting, if people are using the free model, is data. They're learning a lot about companies and people and everything, so that is valuable too.
It is. It's a great opportunity to learn right now. So people should bang away as much as they can, but just plan ahead that it's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that the ones that are more successful in the adoption is they start to form an innovation committee or an AI steering committee, bringing people from all different pieces of your business, right? And they're meeting regularly, they're finding great use cases to go tackle together, they're spreading it, wide. So it's a little bit of that tone from the top, but also you have the builders, right? You're going to find those curious people in the organization out drive these things.
Do you see it being used specifically in construction accounting? How is AI being used when you're looking at construction accounting?
Yeah, there's a lot of it's more process-based automation.
Okay.
So like there's so many very manual processes in construction, lien waivers,
Right.
Subcontractor management, change orders, AP automation, timesheets, HR, like their onboarding. I can't even tell you. There's like so many. So there's there's some that are you can find some quick low-hanging fruit. You kind of have like an ideation session, let's just kind of walk through everything we do here and what did that process look like, right? And then start to understand like, okay, which one of these are going to be quick wins for us? Some of the bigger ones like AP, that could be take some time, and there might be a vendor that would serve you already to do that. Others are just kind of very simple things you could probably knock off.
So there's low-hanging fruit out there.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we always encourage folks to do like an innovation workshop or some type we call it like maybe a promptathon or even like a hackathon series where you're literally locking everyone up for like a half a day, right? And just like, let's talk about how does a project like start from soup to nuts through our business?
Right.
And let's talk about all the handoffs and the manual processes and the rekeying and the Excel, you know? A lot of it is just kind of saying, let's just look at all the Excel workbooks we have, because that's where a lot of those like processes lie. Yeah.
When we did our training, we brought together lots of different people from different departments. Could have been marketing, finance, accounting, underwriting, whatever the case. And the final case that we had to make people do using ChatGPT was to say, respond to this construction RFP. You need a full proposal at the end of it. And people from marketing might have been saying, well, I don't know construction. I've never done an RFP.
Yeah.
But what they quickly realize is that you have these tools in front of you right now that it can help you like make you more efficient and make you learn very, very quickly. And they were surprised that they were actually to finish this task at the end of the day. Not everyone finished, but it quickly takes anyone and gets them up to the same level.
It's so interesting.
And I think another thread to pull is like, I feel like it takes stuff off your plate, but also maybe give you more work. So we're seeing,
how do you mean? Yeah.
We take on different jobs because before we weren't capable. Like for example, that marketing person may have been capable, but now they are capable because now they have AI to help support them. So like I know personally, people will ask me something like, I can figure that out because I have Copilot. Copilot can help me do that.
Yeah.
Where in the past I said, that's not my subject matter expert. Let's go talk to Greg. He'll do that. Kind of thing.
I mean, that's interesting. So you're saying, it may lead to actually them having more satisfying work, more meaningful work.
That too, yeah. Or do things that they didn't I wouldn't say weren't capable of, but that they just weren't,
they were proud of themselves.
Elevates their game, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we got in the panel here was, is it going to eliminate my job?
Yeah,
and
you hear that, that's a common
lot,
question.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we don't need to put our rose-colored glasses on or sugarcoat this. If you have a couple different companies, one company says, hey, we're being way more efficient. Let's lay off half our staff because we're using AI. That's company A. But then you have company B that says, hey, we're way more efficient. Let's invest back in our staff and train them and enhance them to do better and let them feel better. Which company do you think is going to succeed long term?
Yeah.
Right.
The people are still a very important part
people
of this
are
process.
huge in this, right? So we can't lose sight of that.
It's interesting too, because you hear so often, like when people are talking about AI, they're like, well, we got to get the young kids in here because they're the ones who'll be able to understand AI. But there's no age limit on using AI.
Not at all.
It's not a technical process.
Right.
It really isn't. I mean, unless you're doing like for programming, it's great because you can throw programming requests at it and it'll spin things up that if you're not a programmer, you can still work with it. But it's actually a way of taking, using technology that doesn't require a technical knowledge. And that's what's so interesting about it.
It makes technology accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. A leveler in many regards
Yes.
for people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it also helps as people are retiring out or moving on to other firms or whatever that looks like. It helps we call it the passing of the torch, right? But there's so much tribal knowledge in people's heads, right? Especially people that have been in business for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
How do you, before they walk out that door, how do we try to harness that, right?
I know that scares a lot of people.
Yeah. So AI can help hey, let me interview for 4 hours and get all your SOPs. I can create a whole full SOP on how you do that process, watch them do things, talk to them, where it doesn't feel like, they're in a real conversation, just this is what I do day to day. And before you know it, you've kind of captured that,
Yeah.
The companies that will have the true competitive advantage are the ones that will use AI, yes, of course, but also the ones that invest more in their people and make it more of a human approach. And so it sounds counterintuitive because we're getting more innovative, more technical, but I think we need to use that to enhance people and human behavior.
That makes perfect sense. I'm so glad we were able to have all of you on with us today and chat about AI in construction, finance, and just AI in general. I learned a lot, and hopefully we can get you guys back again sometime to talk with us soon.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That'd be great. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.
Before we go, we'd like to thank Applied Surety Underwriters again for their generous support in sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. As part of the United Risk Organization, Applied Surety Underwriters helps clients and brokers find the right bond program for every project through a personalized, consultative approach. To learn more, visit appliedsurety.com.